Hey there, Bear Club! At the Mama Bear Initiative, we explore how to protect ourselves so we can protect our cubs, the people who depend on us. Join us and get the confidence you need to stay safe, make good choices, and protect yourself and those you care about. Let's go!
Recording. FYI. I was telling my son he's gonna go driving or something. He's learning how to drive. Oh, you just saw his arm.
Oh.
Huh? Nah, it's fine. We kind of goof off at the beginning anyway. Anyway, yeah, so we're kind of goofing off. Like we normally do, because we're weird and goofy.
And that's
Yes,
how we
we are.
roll.
And that's how we roll.
That's how
Yeah.
I roll.
Oh, jeez. So funny.
So funny. Ha ha ha. Anyway, welcome to the Mama Bear Initiative podcast. I'm Stephanie Dunham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Rochelle Knapp.
Like to thank you for joining us in our podcast episode today. We're been working on sharing our trauma recovery out loud. That's what we're calling this series. We're just kind of going over things that we have to deal with on a regular basis. And this Saturday when we were planning our week, I think Rochelle brought up something about, what did you say, Rochelle? I don't even remember now.
I saw I've responded to a reel or a short about the why of if someone or whomever has traumatized you, been abusive to you, you may never know why they did it. It's a question that those of us who've been severely abused have, but we never get it answered really because they don't care usually about what they've done to us.
Yeah. Okay. Podcast over. We're done.
Ah.
Bye. I'm kidding.
Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Please feel free to share. Oh, we're not done?
No,
Oh,
not done.
shortest one ever. Yeah, no, we were talking about the why of why things happened, and we just know that we can never fully get an answer to it, and there's some different aspects of that question that come up for people. I think it's an important question to ask. I mean, I don't think you shouldn't ask it,
Right.
but I think you should go into asking it understanding you're probably never going to know fully. You might be able to figure a few things out, like why someone was like they were or whatever, but I think it's natural as humans just want to know why.
Yeah.
Why is it like that? Why is that big round thing in the sky at night? Curiosity. Now, unfortunately, the kind of curiosity we have isn't a pleasant one. It's more about trying to give, I don't know, meaning to our suffering, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about when my dad had a stroke. He had some physical problems anyway, but the stroke was so devastating. And I remember that night after my mom and dad went to the hospital, and none of us really knew exactly what was going on, except that dad was in serious trouble. Like I called my brother, tried to keep my sister in the loop. She lives in New Mexico. And I had to take my kids over to be taken care of so that I could go to the hospital and just be there, for the doctors, the nurses, my dad, and my mom. And I remember just thinking, like, this is so unexpected. Why this? Why now? And it was just like a gut reaction. It wasn't that I thought about asking why. It was more just what came to my mind. Why this? Why now? And I think as a Christian too, we often think, God could have stopped this. Why are you letting this happen now?
Right.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
And it's not that I was I wanted answers. But it was like my heart's cry. Why?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's awful. I don't want this. Why?
Right.
I think if we get I think for myself, I thought about this earlier today. I think asking why is hoping for some kind of remorse on their part. An explanation might bring remorse if they think about it. But unfortunately, most abusers don't have any remorse, or very little, or they might pretend to, but they aren't actually sorry. I mean, it can happen, but it doesn't happen often.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I feel like the remorse thing is like a normal human being would feel remorse for doing something that hurt someone else.
Yeah.
Right. And the sorts of people who harm children aren't normal people.
Right.
You know, they're not normal really in a lot of ways. They may act normal, but their propensity for harm overrides, I guess, their humanity. I don't know how far I want to take that, but
Yeah.
you know, they are human for sure. But and I think about the way my mother acted towards us, and it just, I could kind of understand it. Like there was some history in her own past of abuse and trauma and all kinds of bad things that went on, but at the same time, I don't know if it's just my child's mind going, why would you hurt me? I'm your child. Like it's hard for me to put myself in those shoes. Like I have so much anger and hurt and hate that I'm going to take it out on, a hapless, helpless creature. So the why, at least for me, I think what you guys have said so far does apply, but I don't know. I feel a little more sarcastic about it.
Yeah.
Or
Excuse me.
I don't expect an answer, but I kind of want to be like, well, why did you do that? You blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
I think for me, it's like, I don't get it. I want to understand. I don't like being confused. I don't like not having a place to put this. It's like, there's a phrase that's commonly used, make it make sense. What was going on in your mind? And I know a lot of times, when someone is being, brought up on the stand, for example, in a trial, it's like, or even in the interrogation room, where the person who's doing the interrogating will say, bring me through the day, what led to what happened, first this, then this, what was going through your mind at the time. And I think that there's a desire to know, like, because it's so like foreign, like, why would you do this? Help me understand your mental process.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, but do I really want to know how a demented mind actually works?
Yeah, and I'm sitting here thinking about, I have 2 boys, and there have been times as a mother where they're doing stuff and I'm like, where I feel the tension of, I just want it to stop. I just want them to, at times I'm not following through on it, but the feeling of, I just want to grab them by their heads and just, or whatever. I know the feeling, but there's something stopping me. The love for my children is what's stopping me from following through on any feelings. Because I don't think it's that abnormal for people to get that frustrated with their kids.
Right.
Yeah. I remember one night, my kids were really, really making just all of my buttons all at once.
Right.
And I felt this rage building up inside of me. And I had that moment of clarity, like I could either follow through on venting my rage at them, which would have been verbal, it could have been physical.
Right.
or choosing not to.
Right.
And there have been times I have yelled at my kids,
Mm-hmm.
but there's that moment of clarity, like usually like in the middle of it, I'll stop, I would take myself out of the room. But I remember that one night in particular, I wanted to strike out at them physically.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all I could do to hold myself back and just, I need to leave the room right now. I'm just going to go,
Mm-hmm.
before
Yeah.
I could hurt them.
Yeah.
Based on what you guys were saying, it sounds like what stops you is your values and your beliefs about how you're supposed to raise a child and your love for them. Whereas someone who is just abusive doesn't have that, or they don't care, or their idea of values has been warped. Who knows what the reasoning is, but it
I don't
sounds
know.
like what stopped you was, I love my children, I have values, I care about them. You regain control of yourself for that reason, and that's a normal parent reaction to a child being out of control or whatever they're doing that's driving you crazy or making you feel rage. I've seen it, not to the extent you're talking about it, but like at my store, a child would be acting out, and the parent, if they value and love their kid, they're trying to maintain their cool and get through whatever they have to get through and get out of the store. If they're not, then they're screaming, yelling at the child and pulling on them and basically making them cry worse, which is terrible to see.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between someone who's abusive and someone who's not. I mean, really what it boils down to is you care about and love your children more than your feelings, more than your own frustration or rage or anger or all the above.
Yeah, I feel like in my early 20s, my older son was an infant and a toddler. There were times where I felt really frustrated. And I didn't ever take anything out on him.
Mm-hmm.
But the level of like anger I felt was more at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to walk myself out of the room. I had to, there's a lot going on with my first marriage. It was kind of falling apart almost right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what to do with this kid. It wouldn't stop crying. And, my second son, I almost like the first son I had him till he was 14, and then he went to live with his dad. So the second one kind of benefited from all the, years of raising the other one. I feel like I went into that a little calmer, a little more on top of things, like understanding more about it. Not to say I was practicing on my first son, because I don't feel that way at all. But you do kind of, as you have kids, you kind of get more wisdom as you go along. So you kind of have more to go on with subsequent children. But but yeah, I knew something wasn't right with how we were raised, although I couldn't exactly articulate what it was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did not want to do was repeat it. I think that was one major break on my rage or my upset or whatever I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I knew something wasn't right, but I did not want to repeat it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know with my mom, I've talked with her about this. Like, it's kind of cool to be just totally on the other side of it all. She raised me, I raised my kids. We all have adult kids now. And I asked her, oh gosh, about a month or so ago, I said, why did you discipline us the way you did? And she said, well, that's how I was raised. That's how I was disciplined.
Right.
And I also talked to her a little bit about why my dad acted the way he did.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she wasn't sure exactly, because it's not something that Dad would talk about a lot. But apparently his father had treated him in a way that made him, react to us the way he did. And it seems like the why sometimes with these things is, this is the way you do it.
Right.
this is how you raise kids, or this is how you treat people, or, I've seen the same sort of thing with like, there's a certain amount of racism that I could see, or at least maybe not all the way to racism, but like some disparaging remarks. And I go, I heard it from different family members, and I thought, I wonder what that's about. But they seem to think it was normal, so I wonder if there's a warped sense of normal, that makes them sort of justify it, or this is the way you do it.
Yeah, I think there's a level of, I think when it's generational like this, what you're talking about, my dad treated me this way, so I treated my kids that way. I think in previous generations, children were viewed very differently than they are now. I feel like the 80s and 90s is when we went through this sort of cultural revolution about how we viewed children.
Yeah.
And it seemed like in the 90s especially, there was a huge surge put on child safety, because Gen X talks about how much we were just out and about in the world, and nobody knew where we were, what we were doing.
How did we survive?
How did we get this far? Why are we so independent and lackadaisical or chill?
It's like we're the last feral generation.
Yeah, and I feel like for the most part, our generation and prior were just treated differently. But then it seemed like there was like crime going on in the 80s that made people go, I'm not sending my kids out alone. And now we have, people watching their kids very closely in the parks and what have you.
Yeah.
It's more normal now to see parents at the parks with their kids than it used to be.
Yeah.
Our mother would send us outside for the entire day, and we'd be gone all day. She never once came and looked for us. She didn't come and tell us it was lunchtime. She didn't see how we were doing. Who knows what we were getting into? Right. And, but now, I mean, even with my own kid, my older son, I didn't let him go to the park on his, he was born in the 90s. I didn't let him go in the park on his own. I went with him, and part of me feels like that was a response to like the crime, but also just the way I was parented. Because I feel like some people respond to how they were parented and doing the exact opposite, and some do exactly what they were taught.
Yeah. And sometimes there's a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And I think there's also, like you were saying, about, well, this is just the way we did it. There's no thought to look past, like, could this be wrong? Could there be something wrong with what we're doing? Whereas, like Stephanie was saying with Gen X, like, we were raised pretty independently, pretty much left to our own devices. And, the result was the millennials were helicopter parents because they didn't like, or the millennials had helicopter parents, but the Gen Xers didn't like that feeling of being alone and being expected to just be an adult when they were a kid. And so they never had, and nobody ever questioned, this is how you do it. We don't ask questions. We don't explore it. We don't try to figure it out. And when I was younger and going through what I was going through, I always was thinking to myself, why is it like this? And especially when I understood to some degree what was actually going on, unfortunately, I really want to know, why is this happening? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's only been recently that I've understood that my mother, especially, our mother especially, just didn't care. She didn't care about anything. She only cared about herself.
If she were a more normal Gen X mom, because she was a boomer. She's a boomer. I think generation 2, or no, but she would be in her late 70s by now.
Yeah.
So she would have been boomer generation 1. Apparently, that's split into 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, because Fran's boomer generation 2, because he was born in the 60s. She was born in the late 40s.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, if she had been a more normal boomer mom, I think she might have cared a little more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't really care at all. She just wanted us out of her hair. She
Yeah.
had us out. She had us outside in all weather.
Yep.
It was freezing
Yep.
cold. The ice was crusted over, and we're out there by our lonesome
In our snowsuits.
in our snowsuits and
In our
boots,
snow boots, outside
whatever,
all day.
by ourselves.
We would go into the apartment buildings to get warm.
Mm-hmm.
into the like the stairwells to get warm because it was so cold outside.
Yeah. And you think about why. I mean, my parents were the very end of the silent generation. So just for the boomers, my mom was 1942, my dad 1944. And they would go out, if it was a snow day, my mom would get excited. She'd pull out the Little House on the Prairie books and make hot chocolate, send us out to go sledding. And you think, when I was a kid, I thought that's how all parents are. I just assumed that the good, the bad, and the ugly that I experienced in my childhood was pretty much across the board. So I remember going to a friend's house, though, in high school, and I remember some strange things. I remember seeing the alcohol bottle sitting on the counter. I remember, because my parents were like, there was no alcohol in the house.
Mhm.
Maybe some cooking sherry,
Right.
My parents were very staunch Christians, very holiness kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to her house and not really having a place to put what was going on around me, because I could tell it was different, but I didn't know why. And I think understanding why, I mean, as we get older, I think a lot of times it's like in our late teens, early 20s, where we go, wait a minute, not everyone is treated the same. Why? Why not? Why were my parents sort of normal? But this, I look back, I could see that the mother was an alcoholic, or at least had a lot of the signs of. I'm not going to definitely diagnose her, but you start to realize the way I was treated wasn't normal, or was more normal. And I think coming to realize that, and then you start to think about what made her different. Like your mom, for example, she was a foster kid, right?
Among other things, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you think about what her life was like, not to excuse any of the behavior, but I think being able to at least sort out some of it, not to excuse the behavior, but to go, I can see how it led there,
Yeah, I mean, I can look at what I know about her life and can see how, because I know what I'm like from my own trauma. I know what my tendencies are. I know what my struggles are. I know my own darkness. I know what the dark thoughts that I have. So I can connect the dots.
Mm-hmm.
But that, for whatever reason, doesn't alleviate the why. But the why in that case feels more like more of an existential crisis of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
When you're just shouting why at the universe and you don't understand it, and there's not going to be an answer.
Yeah.
And you're just expressing this not anger, but like this deep hurt, this deep angst about, I've been hurt, and there's no particularly good reason for my suffering. And that's where I end up going with the why, because I can think logically through why my mother did X, Y, and Z based on what I know.
Yeah.
But that never helps me. It doesn't alleviate anything.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, asking why never really helps me.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think ultimately it's more like a venting, like you were saying. It's a way to express this anguish, I think, inside of us.
That's the word I was looking for.
Well, I was thinking there's this longing for things to be as they should be, for
Yes.
parents to love their children, for even in my own life. And I look back and I see the mistakes I made, and there's that longing, like, I wish I could go back and somehow make things different.
Yeah.
You know, there's that longing for things to be as they should be, which is, you know, people, babies being loved, adored, you know, children being listened to, taken care of, protected. And I think especially if you don't have that, you know, you think about a child trying to process it. I think a child thinks they can know why.
Mhm.
Why doesn't mommy love me? Why is mommy yelling at me? And then there's, of course, what usually is because I'm a bad child, or because I did something, you know, because
Yeah.
there's that desire to answer that question. It's
Yeah.
not, and a child can't say, well, you know, mother was abused herself, and, you know, her parents were abused, and this was something that carried.
Yeah.
There's just that I need to fill in the blank. And a lot of times the why is because I must have done something. I remember,
Yeah.
you know, being told, you make me so mad. Okay, I did that. You know, it's my fault. And I think a child can really take that on and also think, if I just act better, then mommy will be nicer.
Yeah. And I know for myself, I've had to try to piece things together to make sense of it when I was a kid. And the conclusion I came to was it was my fault. And that's what I told when I was 14 and I ended up in a foster home for bruises on my body. That's why I kept saying to them, like, it's my fault. I'm the reason this is happening. And I knew, like, somehow knew deep down that wasn't true, but I was too afraid to say anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself it was my fault for years because that's what you were told. You have an attitude problem, you need an attitude adjustment. You're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. You start to really believe it's you, like you're the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was 28, 14 years later, and this therapist is telling me it's not your fault, like the scene in Good Will Hunting, when he's like, it's not your fault. And it's so hard to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to believe it's not your fault. You are not responsible for anything that's done to you as a kid or anything that's done to you as an adult. If you're being abused by your spouse or whomever, you're not responsible for that. And because we automatically think it must be me, especially as a child, because
Mm-hmm.
children have no basis to understand what's happening to them. An adult might have a little better of a chance to figure out, hey, this isn't my fault. But a child's not going to get that. And if they're raised that way, it's even more ingrained. And even now, at almost 52 years old, I'm just now figuring out actually believing it wasn't my fault. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
still hard for me to even say out loud because the shame of that feeling of like toxic shame of this is my fault, is still there. It still exists in me. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
fighting with it now all the time.
Yeah. I feel like the why that you guys are talking about when a child is suffering through abuse, they're asking themselves why for safety reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They want to behave correctly so they don't get hurt,
Yeah.
Right.
or they get the love, or they get their needs met. As Tim
Yeah.
Fletcher says, it's the 12 needs. You know, if they're not being met, the child is like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's innate in us to want those needs to be met,
Mm-hmm.
and the parents are supposed to provide it.
Yeah.
And when they don't, there's a hole, and the child, well, like you were saying, Ev, if I just behave correctly, and
Mm-hmm.
I do everything perfectly,
Yeah.
I'll get what I need. And that never works.
Yeah.
maybe when I was listening to I was gonna say Paul Walker, Pete Walker book some today, and he was talking about this specific problem, the why. He wasn't going over why exactly, but he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about how a child thinks,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and the efforts they go to try to resolve the lack of parental care.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's another aspect of why. And I Yeah, I feel like another part of why is kind of more about what you believe about how the universe functions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people at some point get to a place where they're like, why God? I mean, people do that anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
If they believe in God and something doesn't go the way they expected, they're automatically going, why God?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you just stop it? I was raised in the church to believe a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did this perfectly and I did that perfectly and I did all these things perfectly, that God would answer my prayers and all the things would happen and life would be wonderful, which has not at all been true.
No.
Right.
And I've gone through as I'm going through my healing now, I'm going through a lot of, well, why God?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you do that thing? Why didn't you stop my parents? Why didn't you?
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I listen to apologists, like really smart people,
Mm-hmm.
talk about the existence of evil in the world.
Right.
They
Mm-hmm.
call it the problem of evil.
Right.
And the atheists are all asking, well, if God's real, why is there evil?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can answer that question exactly.
Right.
But we know that it's there because we see the results.
Yeah. And I think we carry that inside of us because we do want to be settled into somewhere with this question, these big questions. And, I think there's a certain amount of, you attain a certain amount of maturity when you go, I can be content with mystery. I was talking to my mom about that today. And we were talking about, of all things, whether or not our pets will be in heaven. And, we went back and forth a little bit. And I said, I think for me, I don't need 100% knowing about this sort of thing. Just, I can live with the mystery, And I think being able to go, this is awful, whatever it is. So, the abuse situation or, why crime is the way it is, why people treat each other the way they do, why my husband treated me this way, or, all of this, and go, I don't know. And even when my kids would ask me questions, to be okay with going, I don't know, not feeling like I always have to have an answer to everything, and then teaching them as well. It's okay to not know, I think that there's a place we can rest in that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not struggling so much to know what can't be known, and just go, okay, I need to be content with mystery.
Yeah. I tend to feel in regards to, the existence of evil in the universe and the results of that I tend to believe, and I'm apologists if ever anyone listens to us. That'd be cool. Anyway, I tend to believe that for somehow Satan has control of this world. So he is in charge of a lot of things. God's the creator, he created everything. So ultimately he's in charge. But it seems like, from what I've read in the Bible, that Satan's been permitted a certain amount of control over humanity, over the earth in some way, which means that he's there persuading and doing all sorts of things to try to subvert God's kingdom. Right? So if he finds a weakness in someone, he exploits it. And if that person follows through on the thought, then that's one more win for the kingdom of darkness.
Right.
So when I look at my life, the way it's gone, and I feel the why question popping up, however this works, however God and Satan have worked out whatever is going on, or whatever God's permitted, God's allowed it in my life for some reason, or he just didn't stop it for some reason. Now I'm going to that thing that you're talking about, Evelyn, which is I don't know why exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know, even though I can't understand why this is happening to me exactly, why is Satan permitted to do this to me? I don't understand exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And my prayers aren't working
Right.
and stopping it. God's not
Right.
stopping it. But I found that no matter what the reason is, no matter why it's happening, God's going to take it and he's going to use it for my good, for
Yes.
my benefit.
Yeah.
He's going to turn it into something, even though it's awful, evil
Mm-hmm.
circumstance I'm in, I'm being hurt. He's going to make it good. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I really am okay with, how I if I had a choice, obviously I would never choose to experience what I've experienced, but I also am okay with how it's gone, and whatever God chooses in the future, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Because I know for sure that whatever happens, he's going to turn it for my good. I'm going to grow as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm going to be able to help other people. Like we're sitting here on this podcast talking about our lives, talking about our
Mm-hmm.
trauma. This is God making good out of bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's where I tend to go with, if I'm starting the why God, why thing, I start to think about the aspect of Romans 8:28, which is he makes all things good for he does all things for the good of those that love him.
Right. It's going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I think about the worst times in my life, when I was the most mentally ill, when I was the most just physical, mental, emotional, everything was just on fire. It was hell on earth, and I don't use that term lightly. I experienced terrible things, but then I also experienced God's presence. And I think one of the things that I go to because of that experience, where I experience his presence in the worst suffering like I've never experienced when I feel good. I forget about God a lot of times when I feel good. To be honest, I have a tendency to just kind of do my own thing and forget I even need him. But I see the purpose of pain in my own life and realizing that I wouldn't be kind. I wouldn't be compassionate. I'd be kind of a jerk.
Mhm.
I think about before I really suffered, like I think it was in that sort of in between time where I think there's sort of a buffer from my childhood, not really realizing how bad it was. And so not really suffering yet. There was a lot of realization, a lot of things that would come and the emotions that would come. And then before I started to experience things in my life, and I was kind of arrogant. I was kind of a jerk. I didn't understand people who suffered. I had cognitive empathy, but I didn't have heart connection with people who suffered. And going through awful things, I now see it more like I just run to God now. I don't really ask why. It's more like I need you. This is scary. This is awful.
Mhm.
I just need you, because he was with me. And even though, because I remember when I was, can I say this, when I was in prison?
You can say
It's
whatever
no,
you want,
it's
Evelyn.
no
It's your
mystery.
podcast.
When I was in prison,
Okay.
and I cried out to God. At first, my charges didn't change, and they were pretty severe. My mental state was still kind of jacked up. Nothing externally especially improved,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like a pinprick of light. And I cried out to God as just a tiny bit of light. And I could go, oh, that's something. I can build on that.
Right.
I don't know why. I don't see any change coming. I did not know what was going to happen. if I would be there for years or be out in months. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But there was just a little bit of hope, and I just started to see things differently. It was more like a perception change because the externals didn't change. And I never really I got some of the answers to some of the whys, but the big existential why,
Yeah.
I've had to let that go, you know?
Oh, goodness, Rochelle.
Bless you.
Been having allergies all day. I saw a TikTok recently of a guy who's a Christian. He's talking. I don't know who he's talking to, but he's playing both characters, and he's basically saying to I guess the skeptical person or maybe an atheist, I'm not sure. He's basically saying to them, because the guy's like, well, why isn't God the one giving you the pain? Well, he doesn't really say what the pain is. And he's like, yes, but if I didn't have it, I wouldn't need God. And the person can't understand what they're saying. Like, he can't, it's, the pain is exactly what you said of the pain is making me be a better person. It's creating a better person in me. And that to me is like the why of it. If I didn't have what happened to me, what kind of person would I be? And I can accept that. Even though it's not the why I'm looking for, I can accept that as a why, as the why of this, at least when it comes to why it happened. And people are people, they do what they want. We all have free will.
Mm-hmm.
We can't escape the consequences of our decisions, but people can do what they want regardless. And if parents can't be stopped to, unfortunately, are not often stopped to abuse their, try that again. Parents are not often stopped abusing their children. They continue on for years, and it's done behind closed doors and no one tells anybody. And I think it's a little bit more prevalent today for parents to be stopped. But it seems like from what I've seen is pretty extreme situations. Like the conditions are really bad and the parents are just neglectful and abusive. Like they have to really, really drive home the need to get the kids out. It's not easy. It's more prevalent, but it's also, I think, more difficult at times now to remove a child from a home.
I think it was more difficult in the 90s.
Yeah.
It seemed like, I guess when I lived in Maryland, there was a woman who was in my particular court in our townhouses whose 3-year-old son was wandering around outside by himself. And social services were called again and again by neighbors. I might have called. I don't really remember. But he ended up, because they were doing construction nearby, he ended up drowning and dying.
Oh my God.
In one of the excavated plots, because they had excavated it to make the basement. It had rained and he fell in there. Social services was out several times. They were out, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. I don't know. And I feel like they're a little quicker than that these days.
Yeah, I agree based on what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. Because at 6 or 7 or 8 times, that's a lot for a child to just be left there.
I don't know what the mother was doing. I don't know if she was high or drunk or just didn't care. I don't know. But it was really sad when we found out that he had died. It was just we were all upset.
Yeah.
The neighbors, because there was quite a few townhouses in the particular court that I lived in. There had to have been something like 25 different townhomes in that court. So there was at least 25 different families, and we were all upset. And I think we went to the child's funeral, and the mother was there kind of throwing herself around and wailing. And some of us were kind of like, where was all this energy? Yeah, where was all this energy when your kid was wandering around alone outside? That's kind of how we felt about it. Sounds a little judgmental, but that goes back to that whole question: why? Weren't you watching your kid?
And that's really because we see how awful the consequences are.
Right.
And, like you were saying stuff about just like want to grab your kids and just go, come on, get a clue. Because we want people to do the right thing. We want to do the right thing ourselves. I mean, I was thinking about, the sort of mindset that makes a child just like, it's this person or whatever, this thing, that you don't value. But I was also thinking, the times when I was just on the edge. I could see it in my head, like, just hold that hand back, And I do remember one night when I started to strike my child.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, when we think about these things too, to understand that, had I followed through, and I think about how, as kids, if you ever got, struck with the belt or hit in such a way where the parent would be remorseful, apologize, get help. It's not all just there's these bad people and there's these good people, but there's also, where the times when I have screamed at my kids and had to apologize,
Mhm.
and to really, there again, I've had to seek God because it was not in me to be a good mom, in myself, very selfish, very self-centered in my own self. And I think that idea of, I think the why a lot of this happens is because, at least I believe and know from my own experience, that I need divine help
Mhm.
to be a decent human being.
Me
I
too.
can't do it by
Same here.
myself. And when I give vent to my urges, good things don't happen, and why is because I gave in to my urge.
Right.
So there again, some of the whys we can know, and you think about people who do, they give in to their urges, not to excuse it, but that's what happened. Their rage, they let the rage overtake them,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That one's a little bit of a sticking point for me, like I was saying earlier, because I'm looking at this mom who let her 3-year-old boy roam around outside by himself, sometimes without a diaper, sometimes with a soiled diaper that obviously been on for a while. Like, it's so sticky with
Mm-hmm.
the people giving into whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, I feel like it's mainly selfishness that and self. I don't know. I don't want to say self-soothing because it makes it sound like maybe it is self-soothing. I don't know if you're drug addicted or alcoholic or overeating or whatever. It is, I guess, self-soothing, even if it's not great self-soothing.
Yeah, self-medicating.
Yeah, self-medicating. You know, laziness to some degree, emotional immaturity.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
yeah. I mean, when police go back and look at, like let's say they're looking at, if they were to investigate, there's a whole investigation. There's usually a whole string of things that lead us to, what happened with that poor little boy.
Yeah.
Is one thing after another, one choice after another.
yeah.
And that apparently she'll, I don't know, normalized the neglect in such a way that it kept happening.
Yeah, I mean, I know because I've been stuck in like deep, dark depressions where I just wasn't able to get myself motivated to do anything.
Yeah.
And I've been in bad moods where I just took out my bad mood on everybody around me. I mean, I get it to a
Mm-hmm.
degree. But it feels like there's some sort of line you just don't cross.
Right. Right. No matter how you feel, whatever that urge is, giving into it is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I recently saw on all the social media is this trend of showing what they call gender disappointment and gender reveal parties, where one of the parents is disappointed in the sex of the child, and they demonstrate that by basically throwing an adult tantrum. And that kind of sets a precedent, could set a precedent of how you're going to raise your kid. Are you going to resent the child because they're not a boy or a girl? It sounds ridiculous. But these people are throwing adult-sized tantrums because their child wasn't a boy or a girl, or whatever they wanted.
I imagine that phenomenon's been going on since the dawn of time.
Probably, but now it's out in social media, so it's more prevalent.
Now it's out there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they're just throwing these adult-sized temper tantrums about they don't want a boy or they don't want a girl, and I'm like, it's a 50% chance one or the other.
Yeah, and you can't guarantee.
Can't control it unless you're creating your baby in a lab. You're not gonna.
Well, that does happen. People are.
That's true, but it's probably pretty expensive.
IVF, they can have some control over gender and whatnot, and not that I agree with any of that, but people can do it.
Yeah,
but if you're conceiving naturally, chances are it's going to be either a boy,
right?
50% chance boy, 50% chance girl.
There's this very, very slim chance it'll be what is it?
Hermaphrodite.
Yeah, that's an old term.
Yeah, I don't know. Intersex.
Yeah, very slim chance.
But even that, the chromosomes tell the story.
Right. You know, I was thinking about that whole idea of there's a line you don't cross. Well, I knew a lady who she really, really wanted a baby girl. And she was even told at one point, I think it was her second or third child, that she was going to have a girl. So they had the little pink stuff. They had it all ready at the hospital. A little boy comes out. And she said for a moment, she was like, oh. And then they put her little boy in her arms. She's like, this is my boy. Yeah. So there is that, like, maybe there's that urge to pitch a fit, but you pull up your big boy, big girl pants. You're old enough to have a baby. Yeah. This is your baby. So you find a way to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Don't cross that line.
Yeah. You consider that to be just unthinkable. And I think maybe that's the problem, is what a normal person considers unthinkable, or what should be considered unthinkable for too many people isn't. Yeah. That could be part of the why.
Well, that kind of goes back to what you're talking about at the beginning when it comes to generational stuff. Well, my dad did this, so I'm going to do that. Yeah. When people do that, when people follow that, I feel like, that's what we're talking about here, what you just mentioned, Evelyn. Mm-hmm. Society has definitely changed from when we were kids, as far as what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in public. Mm-hmm. Social media has definitely changed how we view what's acceptable to show. Mm-hmm. Like, effectively, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. It's basically the town square.
Yeah, pretty much.
Only it's more global.
Right.
Yep.
And, would you go into the town square where you live and act like that?
No.
Would you? Because some people apparently would. It's okay for them to, freak out about their child's gender that's not what they wanted. Mm-hmm. Although sometimes I wonder if those things are just totally fake, if it's made up to get...
I mean, they could be, yeah. It's entirely possible or staged.
They did it for the Vine. For the Vine.
Mine doesn't exist anymore. Now it's for the views.
Well, I'm making an older meme joke. Isn't that how they said it?
Mm-hmm.
They
do it for the Vine.
Do it for the Vine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that one. What was it called? The Vine, the ones where you did.
It was called Vine. That was the name of it. It was 6-second videos.
Yeah, I kind of missed it actually.
I missed it entirely. I never knew it existed until it was gone.
Yeah, my kids briefly dipped into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wonder if some of that, I mean, I feel like a lot of things on social media are just fake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just made up for the clout. Mm-hmm. But if people are acting like that, you're kind of like, grow up.
Yeah. Seriously.
It's like,
Seriously.
why do you think? I think there's this increased entitlement mentality. We've seen it, like we've talked about before, why people drive crazy like they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's an entitlement mentality, and they're just driving like maniacs. Where so some self control.
I think you hit on something there, Evelyn. I think entitlement is a huge piece to the why question.
Mm-hmm.
What do people feel entitled to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, even talking about like people, I think, feel entitled to a life without suffering.
Yep.
And when they do suffer, even people who are atheists will say, well, if your God is so blah, 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 you know, it's that wanting to say, cast blame or cast, you know,
I know as a parent, I often feel like I should not, because not that I get it, but I feel like I should be entitled to peace and quiet.
Mhm.
Like I can think of a kind of off the cuff example of my 8-year-old's outside in the front yard and he's doing something and he's excited about something or he's upset and he's calling my name. I just want to sit on my couch and be by myself and be quiet because I've been busy all day. I've been working hard, cleaning this, cooking that, whatever. Just want some peace and quiet. And now 5 minutes later, my kids go, Mama, Mama, Mama. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like I
Yeah.
should be entitled to peace and quiet, but I can't make myself sit on the couch and ignore him.
Right.
You know,
right.
that I feel like that's kind of where the line is, maybe the
Mhm.
entitlement. Because if you feel entitled to something, you're willing to cross all kinds of boundaries.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I as far as parenting, I think in order to be a good parent, you have to set yourself aside, what your urges, what you want, what you'd rather do. I was I was thinking that's also I'm glad that I went through the experience of raising my kids, because there again, without kids, and before I even got married, I could basically do whatever I wanted to.
Right.
If I want to sit on the couch, fine, I'll sit on the couch. But having responsibilities, and I think caring about other people, sort of going back to what we were saying before, I'm not going to be a jerk to my child. I'm just not. I'm not going to ignore my child. I'm going to go out there and do what's right. I'm going to set myself aside, set whatever I think I'm entitled to aside. And I totally hear you. Oh, for peace and quiet. Now I kind of miss the noise a little bit. They're all gone, except my son. When he makes noise, I actually feel kind of happy. But I'm not entitled. I guess that's the thing. Like, there are certain rights that we have, but it's kind of limited.
Yeah, I mean, marriage, friendship, parenthood, group membership, it's self-sacrifice. It's you give something of yourself to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think kids and marriage are two huge self-sacrificial things that you do, which means you set yourself aside, you set your wants aside. I don't think you should set all of your needs aside. I feel like you should be taking care of yourself and doing what's right so you can be there for your people. But 90% of the time, you're there for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Not for yourself. And, looking back at my mother, like, what did she feel entitled to?
Right.
Did she feel entitled to just doing whatever she whenever she wanted? Because that's pretty much what she did. I mean,
Yeah.
she was either gone all day shopping or doing other things, which I won't say out loud. Or if she was home, she mostly was in bed.
Yeah.
And if she happened to not be in bed, it was kind of rare.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like I'd rather her be in bed because now she's not out here harassing me.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it felt like she was on a war path.
Yeah, definitely.
Because she would do things like, Rochelle and I weren't the messiest kids, but we weren't the neatest kids either. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
our
I mean,
room
you're
was always a
kids.
little messy, but she would come in her room when she was on a snit. She would come in her room and dump everything we owned right in the middle of the floor of the bedroom.
Yeah.
And then tell us to go clean it up. And that's kind of like, what is she entitled to in this situation? Like, I don't understand why she's being like this about a slight mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
So, there again, what's really going on here, and I think a lot of times that entitlement mentality is fueled by a victim. You feel like you're a victim.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like almost like compensating. The world did me wrong, so I should have X, Y, and Z.
I had a brief interaction with a guy at work this morning. One of our common sales ended, and he's like, "Why can't I get him for this?" And I said, "Well, the sale ended." And I hadn't yet said, because the sign was still up, we would give him the sale.
Mm-hmm.
We still like do the override. He'd get, the sale price. And he's like, "Well, I should get it because it's the sign was there." And I'm like, "I understand that. We're gonna get it for you. You just have to wait a minute." And he kept saying it, and I'm like, "Why? You keep saying it? Say this out loud." I'm like, "Why do you keep saying it? I literally just told you we're gonna give you the sale price because the rule is if the sign's still there, even if it's expired, you still get the sale price." And he just would not get off it. And that entitlement thing is like, I already said you're going to get the sale. Can you please? I wanted to say, "Can you please shut up?" But I couldn't say that.
No, you wouldn't have a job very long there if you did.
No, I would not.
There again, self-control.
But that's a small but valid example of entitlement. Like, I should have this because I just want it. That's just the way it is. And people will come into my store and be like, they'll want the thing. I'm like, that thing's over with, and we don't have any signs showing it anymore. Man, they'll get mad. It doesn't happen often, but every now and again you'll get somebody who's really mad about it. Sometimes it'll be like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, "Well, is this still going on?" "No, I'm sorry." "When did that end?" Like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And they'll get mad, or they'll just be like, "Okay, whatever." If they get mad and they're entitled, I'm like, "Well, the sales end eventually."
Yeah, it doesn't
It'll last forever.
Otherwise, it's just the regular price.
Yeah, it's just a regular price. Now, we do have some sort of indefinite ones that never really go away, but like not everything is like that.
That's more of a marketing tactic, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you just have one thing perpetually on sale, you're just trying
It's
to
not
get
really
them
on
to buy
sale.
it.
Yeah,
Loss
it's just
leader. Yeah.
because like, oh, the teas are 2 for 2. The little teas have been 2 for 2 forever.
Yeah, like we go to the store and it's buy 10 for 10.
Yeah.
Well, if I just buy one, it's $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? The sales that make sense to me are the ones that are like, if you have the store app, whatever, you can get it for this price. But if you don't, you have to pay that price.
Or you have to buy so many multiples of something to get the sale price.
Or
That makes more sense.
3. Yeah. But if it's, anyway, how did we get on this little diatribe?
I just was talking about entitlement, talking about
And
marketing.
then we were talking about marketing. Somehow we pivoted to marketing.
Yeah, well, anyway, you mentioned the victim mentality, and I'm pretty sure our mother felt like a victim of her life.
Yeah, she even told me that a few times, because when we moved to Rising Sun, I had a conversation how much she hated it, and and the victim mentality got worse at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like they feel entitled to pitch a fit because life isn't going the way they think it should, and they're not getting what they
fair to
think
her.
they deserve.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like emotional immaturity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Essentially, she felt forced to move somewhere she didn't want to move to because of our stepfather's job.
Yeah, well, I mean, she experienced similar things to Rochelle and I in her younger years. Her parents were alcoholics. She almost died in a car accident. She got carted around foster home to foster home. She married an abusive man, aka my father, and then developed a alcohol and drug habit. And then her and my stepfather's relationship wasn't that great.
Awful. Yeah.
And then she was forced to leave a place she was happy at. And, I mean, I get it, but also I don't.
Yeah. It can be a reason, but it's not an excuse.
Yeah, because if you have a fatalistic view of life. Like, well, I'm a victim. Life sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just do what I want to make myself feel better. Then
Yeah.
I guess that you choose the entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else be darned,
Yeah.
you know,
Pretty
and
much.
everyone else is now your victim
Hmm.
because of the way that you view yourself, you view your life. And because it's not, if you're a victim and you have an entitled attitude, you're definitely not being self-sacrificing.
Right.
Right.
And you're not even being reflective.
Right.
You're not even able to see, I chose this, and now look at the mess. Look what I'm doing to my kids. Look what I'm doing to my relationships. There's this, it's like hiding in this little cave, and you've got your little fantasy thing, and everything is okay. I deserve this. I deserve the good things. I deserve. And meanwhile, the ones who actually deserve, like your children, they deserve a present, loving mother, that they
Yeah.
get neglected or abused in
Mhm.
other ways. So, and I think that goes into not just parent to child, although that's the primary and that's the big one, but can go into marriages, friendships, relationships, where this victim mentality that can lead to entitlement, you're just causing destruction left and right, and it's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's
So,
true.
Yeah. I know I've had minor occurrences of the victim mentality at times that I've taken out on people. So I kind of get it.
mhm.
Yeah, me
But
too. Definitely.
there's still a threshold that there's still a line I wouldn't cross, even if I
Yeah.
was in a bad mood and taking it out on other people.
And
Yeah.
I think,
I have a
go
tendency
ahead.
to realize it a little too late. Like I've barked at my husband, I barked at my son, but then I
Yeah.
realize it and I remove myself
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apologize,
and
and
apologize. Yeah.
and then work on doing better. I know that there is grace and space to go in, maybe go in there or get close to it, and realize, oh, wait a minute, I need to not stay here. And I know, when my marriage ended, around that time it was ending, and I started to realize all the dysfunction, all the things that had happened to me. And I realized that I was legitimately a victim,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't stay in that mentality for too long, or else it would become very toxic.
Yeah.
And I was in it for a while, and I saw things certain ways, and I had a certain amount of entitlement as a result. And, things I had to work through, what's real, what's true. I am a victim, yes, but I can't have a perpetuating victim mentality, or I'm going to end up being the very thing that I hate.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this stuff, but yesterday morning you asked me about the Pete Walker book. You asking me had nothing to do with my response. I was already in this sort of weird, I don't want to be bothered phase. It's kind of entitled, a little bit of entitled because it's overly emotional. And so it came out like I didn't care about the book. And that wasn't the case at all. It was just this feeling of like, I'm struggling, I'm emotional, I feel like I'm in a grief tidal wave, I don't want to be bothered. And I quickly had to realize this is not the way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also
Because-
called you out on it because I was like,
Yes.
yo, I'm saying this to you and it feels like
And I was
You're
totally
just
checked out,
ignoring
and I was completely defensive and totally checked out and just in my own head about what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to change and be like, I got to humble myself here and tell her what's going on, because this is not doing me any good. This is what I've been doing for a long time.
or
And I
doing
have-
me any good.
Right. And I have to work very hard to
Yeah.
not be defensive, which I generally do. I generally work it. I don't ever give, I should say ever, but I try not to give my initial reaction to a question or call out, which is feeling defensive. And so yesterday morning was the first time in a while I actually responded in that way. And so I immediately felt that conviction of like, no, can't do this. This is the way I used to do things. This is wrong. She's asking me a question about something that has nothing to do with what I'm feeling. And so I explained that. And I said, my response has nothing to do with what you're saying to me. I'm just in this weird state of mind and super emotional and want to be left alone. I didn't say that part out loud, but I want to be left alone. But I'm downstairs with you guys. I'm downstairs with you guys. I can't be left alone.
Hey, if
You
you
know?
don't want to talk about it, you can say I don't want to talk about it.
I know, but I needed to. I needed to get it out in the open because I tend to bottle things up. I wanted to get it out and say this is what I'm dealing with, and I told you guys today in the chat, like I don't want to keep those things inside because that's when the word behavior begins, and then there is a lot of entitlement in that feeling of like defensiveness,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be that person because that's who had been for a long time. It's very hard for me to be upfront about what I'm feeling, and sometimes I don't legitimately know what I'm feeling, but at least I can say that much. So you guys know why I'm acting weird or struggling or whatever. Like I've been real shaky all day. I've actually stumbled a couple of times and like afraid I was gonna drop something I was carrying, like stuff that I don't normally think about because of these emotions I'm feeling. And has nothing to do with what I'm anyways.
No, but I think you're making a good point, Rochelle, because you're basically saying that it's easy as humans to slip into this sort of mentality where I feel bad, I don't want to be bothered, leave me alone, how dare you, go
Yeah.
away. You know, I get it. I mean, I think we've all done it. I think we've all
Yeah.
been in that mindset at times.
Yeah.
And but I think the conclusion we're coming to is what brings us to the question and why is when someone crosses the threshold
Right.
from being self-sacrificing in the relationships to being entitled.
Yeah.
How do we keep ourselves now from crossing that line? What is the
Yeah.
limit? What do we do to stop?
Well,
or like for myself, my old behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that's part of your trauma healing recovery.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't stand around Rochelle going, "Why is Rochelle acting like this? Why?" I don't do that.
That'd be really weird, dramatic if you did.
because even though you may feel bad about however you were acting yesterday, it's still not crossing that threshold
Right.
to the point of abuse.
Right. And I think there again, it's emotional maturity where we ask ourselves why. Why am I acting this way? As opposed to it being out there, this existential thing. But, you know, I am often called out on my stuff by our lovely weirdo. I do not like it. Yes, you.
Talking to you.
It's because she loves me, but I don't like it. I get this roar that immediately comes up. Now, I don't give into it like I used to most of the time, like Rochelle was saying. But I used to, and I would spend all this time defensive. You guys know, you were there. You know, and what usually happens is then I'll feel that, like, you'll just ask a question. Why did you do X? You know? And my old toxic shame was I would be asked like by a harsh parent type person, could be a teacher, could be, you know, why did you do that? A lot of times I have no idea why, but I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? As a child. So it's thinking like a child. When somebody's just asking me because they genuinely want to know, or, you know, like, why are you acting weird? Which was kind of a thing too, you know? And I don't like to be found out. I don't like my secrets to be out there. You know, I'd rather hide and everything's fine and I'm okay.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know I don't want people to know I'm weird and awkward.
Yeah. So why did you say that or whatever? And I'll immediately I'll have this immediate reaction, or I'll be told you really should do X, Y, and Z. And I've been told that at work too. And I'll feel that. And then I'll go, are they right? Yeah, they're right. So how should I act? And then if I have time, I'll go, why do I feel that way? And I'll go, yeah, because, and I know a lot of the times if the question is, why did you act that way? Is because I'm getting chewed out, you know, and whatever I say is not going to be the right answer. And I'm going to get a spanking no matter what, you know, but I'm 57 now. And, you know, Stephanie is not going to spank me.
No, she's not.
I'm not going to put you over my knee, Evelyn. I'm sorry. That would just be weird.
Wildly
I may be a
appropriate.
weirdo, but there is a threshold.
There's a threshold we just
There's
don't
a limit we do not
cross.
cross.
A line we don't cross, and that's one of them.
And so part of my line now is I don't let my defensiveness take charge where I become, well, she's saying that about me, you know, like I'm entitled to never be called out on my stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's been an hour and 15-ish minutes.
What the heck?
Yes.
We
An
are
hour
so
and 14
talkative.
and a half days, Louise.
We're getting
I can't-
longer. Well, they're about the same amount of time now, I
It's
guess.
been about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Steph
we
usually
go.
reins us in.
Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
for that.
I'm at least partially motivated by the desire to go to sleep, and my back's been hurting this entire time, so
Yeah, mine too.
I kind of want to
to
take some ibuprofen, and I've had a really rough day, and I'm very tired, and so yeah. I want to rein
Yeah.
it in.
You're motivated.
Am I entitled to rein it in?
Yes, you are. It's okay.
I think it's more
I gotta
because
just
we
go to
don't
bed, so yeah.
we don't want to cross the threshold of going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, if you're watching this and you're getting something out of it, please share, like, subscribe, do all the things.
Do the
whatever
things.
Follow
whatever
us,
they are.
leave a
Whatever
comment.
platform, leave us a comment. Watch our clips and reels on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc.
Mhm.
Let us know you're listening, because it really means a lot to us if we know that people
Yeah.
are actually. We can go look at the analytics on any of the platforms and kind of see. We don't know who you are because you're not telling us, so tell us.
Yeah.
We're entitled to know. No, I'm kidding.
Kidding.
We're not entitled,
Joking,
but
we
we
have
want to know.
jokes.
We're not
Tiny.
entitled. We're not entitled. That was a joke.
And we'd love to know your thoughts, maybe your own stories, you know, that you, if you feel like you can relate and here's why and how, we'd love to connect with you that way. So
Yeah, so please share, and also share.
yes.
Because, our goal is to start the conversation, get people listening, thinking about their own journeys, and, making changes for themselves. And we hope that what we're saying is encouraging, because hopefully it sounds like something you've already experienced. And we're saying that there's hope for healing,
Yes.
and these are common problems that, people with CPTSD and other trauma-related issues have. And we just want to help. We want to help people to grow and to learn and to become better versions of themselves.
Yes, that's our goal. Goals.
That's our
many
goal.
goals.
So I thank you for joining us. I'm Stephanie Dunham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Rochelle Knapp.
Thank you. Have a great day, night, evening,
Yes.
Bye.
sunset, whatever.
Whatever. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us as we discussed such an important topic. We hope you got some food for thought and encouragement to keep going and keep growing. See you later, Bear Club.